Welcome back to Super Tuesday Recap with your hosts, Chris and Deepom here. End of the month is that time again. It's time for the mailbag where we take listener email, topics of the day, random things, comic books, movies, TV shows. It's you know what? This will be the last mailbag before San Diego Comic-Con. So when we'll have the next one we do, we'll have plenty of Comic-Con news. We'll be able to talk about that Aquaman trailer.
Stop. Why would you start like that? For y'all to know, like, Chris and I are actually friends, and we talked for about 20 minutes before we recorded this, and he hasn't done anything like that in the entire conversation. I'm like showing up. I get we're entertaining, like, this is an entertainment product, but at a certain point, like, you just start to feel attacked.
I mean, I had to save something for the show because the stuff we were talking about before we can't talk about the show. So it was like I had to save something, you know. Yeah, a little something for the people.
Look, okay, so let me say this. I know there are a lot of people very excited about Aquaman, and I'm not going to yuck anyone's yum, so just like don't listen for the next 2 minutes. Jason Momoa can't act.
Hey,
he can't.
That's...
Okay. The stills they released, nigga, that Black Manta helmet is massive for no reason. That shit better be CGI, or it's gonna look like it was taped on like the old Fantastic Four movie. His emotional range as an actor are bro and whoa. That's it. He does quiet smolder well, which he might do in this movie a lot because there's no evidence anyone can talk underwater.
They said they're going to do that. They said they're going to be able to talk. They said they're
Did
not
you
going
see Justice League, nigga? Did they go into a dry room to have a conversation?
They did say they're not doing that. Whatever they did in Justice League, they're not doing that.
So they're going to explain that away, huh? Or it's just going to be another one of those things?
Well, let's save the DC, because we got a lot of stuff to talk about with the DCEU and stuff that's come out since then.
I've seen the breakdown of what we're talking about today, and again, I feel attacked.
Hey, look, we're using... I put this stuff in there. You had a chance to comment.
I will say this. The Trello, and I don't know if anyone's followed this, like, back and forth on Twitter, I think, and Facebook at this point. Chris put us all on Trello like a month and a half ago.
It's about that time, yeah.
And I'm an asshole, and I'm an old person, and I'm ornery. And I was like, I don't want to do that. I'm not going to figure it out. But then he didn't. He wasn't going to help me. He wasn't going to do anything that we need to do on the site if I didn't do it the right way. So I did it. And now it's made my life so much easier. And I can admit on this show that I was wrong.
Eat your vegetables. I do not like vegetables. I'm telling you, eat them. It'll make you strong. I'm not going to. Okay, you know what? These are actually not that bad. All right, that's fine. All right, cool.
All right.
That's fine. It's whatever.
I said it on air. I'll never admit it again.
I know. It's fine. I have that. I'm going to go ahead and just isolate that little audio right there and we pull that out. I might pull that out for the next. Yeah, it's what it is. So, anyway, folks, you know how we always do. We start. We'll revisit this Aquaman stuff later on because we're gonna have to. We start with your emails. So here we go. Let's start with email. First time mailbagger. Cam Bacon says, "Hey guys, first of all, I want to thank you guys for these pods and all the hard work and research you do. The Character Corners and Comic Book Club have driven me to read more and more comics every time I listen to them." Glad you like that. And as you guys know, you should be able to see now, we just put up we're putting up some comic book clubs on to the Character Corner feed for free. So we just put the one up that Deepom and I did on it was Chaos IDW, Chaos Theory, Last End of the Wreckers, and Sins of the Wreckers. So yeah. So we had that up there, and I think next month for the Character Corner / Comic Book Club, we're gonna do Hickman's Fantastic Four run. Because I think the Fantastic Four come back next month, so
yes,
or sometime soon. So we are going to be doing that. So
did you see all covers for the first issue?
I did.
The Art Germ ones, the 4.
I might have to buy them.
I love Art Germ's work. Like, not to get on the side, he doesn't do like mini interiors now, but the covers he does, wow. Yeah,
I shouldn't at this point because I'm trying to pack things up. I shouldn't buy things, but. I can have him send to my dad. I can have him send somewhere else.
There you go.
My first question is, with Dan Slott finishing his amazing Spider-Man run, I want to know what you and Deepom's favorite stories are from his run were. Deepom, you want to take this? I know you're heavy into this run.
It's so so unfair because it's one big run. Like it's all the stories matter because everything came before them happened, everything came after them happened. Spider Island, I loved. Obviously, Superior Spider-Man. I really, you know what, and this is kind of a cop-out and probably recency bias, that Red Goblin, the capper. Have you finished it yet?
No.
It runs through 801, and 801 was a beautiful comic. It's a standalone. It's kind of Dan Slott's goodbye to Spider-Man. But the story that goes through 800 with Norman Osborn, or goes through the whole run with Norman, but you realize at a certain point, there's been two rogues who have never shown up in real capacity against Peter Parker. And that was Norman Osborn, or the Green Goblin, and that was Carnage. And he tells a story, man.
How many?
Dan Slott tells a story.
How long was Dan Slott writing?
I'm going to Google that for you because I did not.
Okay, I can't remember when he started. For me, I mean, like you said, Deepom's right. Like the entire run is just phenomenal. I'm always partial to the Superior Spider-Man one just because of the hate it got on Twitter. It didn't match up to the idea that it was a great series and it won awards. So
and it's also one of the best-selling comics while it was running. So
right. So
kind of tough to make that claim.
Right. It's one of those things that people always say, "Hey, Twitter is real life," but in that case, it was not real life. Well,
so Dan Slott's first issue, goodness gracious. He took over in 2010.
Damn.
His first issue was 648, and he finished at 800.
Damn.
Wow. Oh my God. So remember that Lizard story's in this one.
That's what I'm saying. The Gauntlet stuff is in there, right? Yeah. The Gauntlet stuff. The Gauntlet is really, really good too. I love that. And that Lizard story is like, man, all those stories with the villains in that Gauntlet series are just
big time.
They get you. They get you. Oh man. Even the Sandman story, like how was even that was
the clone conspiracy.
Yeah.
This nigga brought back Ben Riley.
Oh, I know that, and you're yeah,
No, I just haven't. That's already number one. It was my favorite story in this run is Clone Conspiracy.
What was I gonna say? You know what this reminds me of? Because now that you say that he's started this in 2010. Didn't Jason Aaron start Thor in 2011?
Something around there, yeah. It's and now watch it. Have you read the first issue of Iron Man?
Not yet. No, I haven't gotten that.
For a fucking ride! I'm so excited
because that's Slott, right?
That's Slott.
Yeah. Yeah. I gotta.
Yo, Slott's got Iron Man and he's got FF dropping. Dan Slott they hated Dan Slott Spider-Man so much they let him run the Marvel Universe.
Yeah, between that and Jason Aaron gotten Thor and Avengers, I'm just like,
oh, are you up? Thor 2 came out today.
I have not. So I'm so when we get to the pro list, I'll explain. I'm behind on all my comments. I'm probably gonna when this is over catch up on everything. So, my second question is X-Men related, which is appropriate because this is kind of the unofficial X-Men podcast of the MTR network.
Poorly closeted 90s X-Men podcast.
Yeah, it is. Yo, so again, we're gonna get to this question. I'm gonna do when I finally get all my stuff together back and wherever I settle down at, whether it's at my dad's or I buy a new house or whatever. When I open up, I'm going to have to go through my stack of comics because D-Palm and I, so I think the last mailbag we brought up, or either the mailbag or Character Corner, we brought up the Wizard magazines, and I was packing up and I found a whole bunch of Wizard magazines, and I realized how much of a 90s kid and 90s X-Men kid I was. It's just,
So all my 90s stuff is definitely in my parents' basement. I have all my stuff from like my college buys. Like that box, that picture of that box I sent you?
Yeah.
It's full of single issues and Wizards. Like all these comics were purchased at Midtown Comics in Times Square. Every one of them.
Yeah.
That's crazy. It's like and I convinced myself not to throw them out yet because I just want to see what's in there. I just want to thumb through it. Just,
I feel like you can't throw them out. Like it's just.
They're going to get donated like at the very
Yeah.
Most of that digitally now are collected editions, but like there's one of my old copies of Dark Knight Returns, and I'm like, you can never have too many copies.
You never be too sure. Back to the question. I know Fox has ruined her, but do you think we'll ever get Emma Frost back on screen? And who would you cast as her in the movie? Thanks. And P.S. DC, if you're listening, get an unlimited service. There's supposed to be a DC universe.
Just not even. Let's cover it.
All right, cool. We're gonna pretend like.
Let's cover it once and not do it again. Okay.
We're covering it right now. We're gonna say DC Universe is having an announcement tomorrow. We don't know what it is. That's all I'm going to say for it, because I'm not trying to jinx anything. I'm leaving it there.
I did a lot of things on Twitter today. I argued about Boyz II Men versus Drew Hill, but I haven't mentioned this once. And if you're listening to this and you're listening to it before the announcement, you don't mention it either. It's just a little solidarity with the show, all right?
Just nod. Anyway, back to your question. Do you think we'll ever get Emma Frost back on screen? Well, we know that Disney has passed the antitrust issues. Not like there were going to be antitrust issues under Trump anyway. I mean, the one good thing that under Trump, right?
Yeah, it will be well entertaining.
So in that respect, yeah. I mean, if whatever Marvel does with, like, yes, Emma is a very important character, and I think they will actually bring her and they'll actually do her right and do her some justice. One can hope. I don't think that we get her. She'll be with Scott. We're not going to do that way, because I think that whatever Marvel does, whether they're trying to shoehorn them into the MCU or they do their own little universe, I think that you're going to see Marvel try to clean the palette a little bit and give us something that we haven't seen before. When you think about it, we haven't really seen the X-Men together. It doesn't have to be the original First Class, but we really haven't seen a really good X-Men team, and I don't think you put Emma on that team right out the gate. That said, I do think you'll eventually see. At this point, look, I saw Ant-Man and the Wasp this week. Yes, humble brag. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to do that on purpose, but yes. We got Ant-Man and the Wasp. It's a fucking sequel. In 2018, we have two Ant-Man movies. Yes, Emma Frost will be on screen again.
First and foremost, if you call yourself out about it, it's kind of on purpose. I don't know if you know how I don't know if you know how words work, but yeah, that's kind of defined definition there for me. That was really distracting. I agree with you on a lot of levels. I'm also an avowed Summers Gray guy. I get it, Emma, fine, but come on, like we all know this.
Yeah. But I think even Emma I think Emma just as a villain without the whole Scott.
Well, the thing is, if you're going to do her as a villain, then like you're doing Hellfire Club, which is cool.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like we've done it fairly recently.
True.
And so what you could do is do like I don't know, maybe down the line you could have her work in some villains, and then eventually you get to Generation X. I think maybe even have her just show up as the headmistress of a competing school.
Yeah.
It's in the Ultimate Universe. I think it's a translation for the character that would really work. Charles competing with a fellow telepath to teach these kids is a pretty interesting story idea. No one steals it.
You know, now that I'm thinking about it, hell, you might get her on the small screen because remember.
We're getting her on the small.
Right, we the Gifted. I mean, if you one of my favorite new shows, right? The Gifted gave us the Cuckoos. So I'm just saying, I think you're going to get Emma there. So let's see.
Oh yeah, and also this show has kind of ruined things for me. So I'm going to stop fantasy booking when I'm on the show because now all I can think is if they don't make Angel Black, I'll be really upset. I said that like 2 months ago, and it sat with me since.
Right. Yeah, I don't know who, and again, even for Emma, I don't know who you would cast for her.
Yeah, no,
I got.
I'm not plugged in. Really, no actors and actresses like that.
Yeah, so. I got to think about that one because again, that's not somebody I've been. You know, when I think about casting for X-Men, I just will care somebody I haven't been thinking about because she wasn't like who I would have. I'm with Deepon. I don't think that you do her anytime soon. I do think you get her eventually, just not anytime in those first few movies. But yeah, I don't know, and I don't think she's ever been because who did they get? They got somebody for her, and I don't.
Was it January Jones?
That's what it was. January Jones. The problem with who they didn't they have somebody. Well, technically, the girl they cast in origin. They try to come back and say it later on.
That movie never happened.
Right. They say it never happened or whatever. I don't know. But
I say it never happened.
But yes, it's very weird how they do the continuity with that. But anyway, yeah, I think that whoever you get with her has to have she has to have a presence, and I don't think, and I'm not saying this was because of her acting ability. I don't think they gave I don't think they gave her a presence in that movie.
Right.
Whoever Emma is, she's, again, I'm not saying this, to, be sexist or anything like that. She describes herself with this. She's a bitch. A bitch with good genes.
You know the one thing she isn't? A fucking sidekick.
Yeah, no.
And that's why they played her in fucking First Class. And I don't know, I didn't watch Mad Men, so I have no opinion of January Jones one way or the other. I always joke that movie killed her career because I've never seen her in anything since.
Yeah. Emma has to be the baddest person there. Her attitude sells. She's attitude
power superiority.
Yeah.
The other stuff's
right. she's attitude era WWF, yo. Just that's what it is. Just saying. All right, next email. Sorry. All right, Amani writes in, says, Gmail bag. All this time trying to get Chris to watch Friends, and D-Pop still hasn't finished Batman Telltale Game. Drag him.
Hold on. First of all, I may have said that offhandedly. I had to finish season 2. I finally did. It's amazing. What I really haven't finished, if you want to get really real about how bad I am about this, so I'm finally on episode 5 of season 1 of Walking Dead.
Shame.
Lee just got bit. I'm very upset.
Ooh. Oh, just keep.
I haven't started episode 5 yet, so.
Oh. Have fun.
So I also have season 2 downloaded.
You should also, so once you finish that, just finish season 1. Then when you finish season 1, go play season 1 of Life is Strange.
No, because everyone at this point, I think I own it. I just don't want to do it now. Y'all have me nervous and shit. I don't.
Yo, they're bringing Life is Strange back, and I'm just like, oh.
No, you know why I got upset when I saw that? I was like, now I got to talk to him about the first one again. Trying to make me play it.
Yeah.
Here we are.
I don't think I'm ready, yo. I don't think I'm ready. Anyway, nigga, what are y'all doing with your lives? No, I don't take moving and being adults as an excuse. Okay. I mean, look, I'm not gonna lie. I have no excuse for watching Friends at this point. At this point, it's just a long running troll game for me now.
At this point, it's just trolling, and that's fine, I guess. Dick move. I wouldn't do it. Maybe you're not a great person. That's fine.
I mean, we've kind of already established that, though. So,
legitimate.
It's legitimate. Then again, that's what I've asked people who aren't reading James Roberts' run with Lost Light. It's going to end an incredible 100-issue arc. That's a story of families right up to there with X-Men or Fantastic Four. You want a villain agenda? I'll give you Megatron, the God MC.
Let me say this, and we covered this on the most recent Character Corner / Combo Book Club. When you say Transformers villain now, I don't go Megatron first, and that's fucking crazy.
When Space Hitler has kind of reformed a little bit.
I'm like, but he's trying.
Right.
But it's also a conversation that happens in the book because they're like, what is going on here? I know, right? He kills one of your friends, then it's a personal thing. But if he kills 1 million of your friends, how do you even quantify that?
Right. No, that really happened. It's just you put it that way. It's kind of like he passed the limit that he's come back around.
It's like getting mad at a force of nature. What's the point?
Mm-hmm. I mean,
there's just bodies everywhere.
Yeah.
But clearly not doing that anymore, or we'd all be dead.
Yeah, it's sunny. We're expecting a little bit of chance of Megatron in the afternoon. So just make sure you carry your umbrellas. The bodies might be dropping.
Man.
No, we're actually going to be doing Lost Light for one of the premium shows. I think that's also going to be next month. We're going to start that then as well. So, yeah, and matter of fact, we've been pumping this because we've been doing IDW on the Character Corner feeds. I believe the IDW sale on Comixology is still running through July. So, perfect time to catch this up. And I have to say this. I know people are going to be like, oh, Transformers. Listen, I know you should really read them. We can't see the...
Your giant robot stigma slide to the left for 2 seconds.
Yeah. Look, I understand that, hey, look, D-Pump can be a little pushy when it comes to Transformers. It's true.
I will never lead you astray.
And he won't. He's the one that pushed me to read this. And again, I said this with More Than Meets the Eye. Dense read, but well worth it. It all comes together. He got me now. I just read Chaos Theory. We did that for the 2 issues with Megatron and Optimus. We find out Orion Pax is a badass. And then we did Sins of the Records, and then Last End of the Records and Sins of the Records. And I will be doing Requiem with the. I was supposed to read it before we did this show, and I didn't. I will be doing it, so we'll talk about that next time. But no, seriously, guys, it's really, once you get past the giant robots, it's literally just it's a story about life. It's a story about war, peace, love. The sins people make. It's a really good and nuanced story, and it's very, very relevant to today's time. So definitely gonna read that shit. Yeah. I'm not saying he didn't get a little carried away there, but there's only so much talk of civility in the face of chaos a man can take, and I understand. I won't even sully the hype by mentioning the lie of hope that is the Bumblebee movie. Yeah, I can't believe people are falling for that shit. It's like a cycle with Transformer movies.
I really almost slept the other day. I really did. Like, I caught the trailer. I was like half asleep or some shit. I was like, you know what? Maybe it won't be terrible. I was like, whoa.
That's how they get you. It's like a subliminal message in there, yo.
It was very much like a thought, one of those nudge guns from More Than Meets the Eye.
No,
I hit with a thought, and I was like, that wasn't my thought. Who shot?
It really does happen. Because I remember, what was it? Wasn't because last night, the trailer for last night looked terrible. But the one before that.
It was everyone had him riding Grimlock. And I was like, all right.
Yeah.
So the movie going to be terrible, but
right,
sheer ridiculousness. I never watched it. I still never seen it.
No, I haven't either. I never did either.
But there was a moment where I was like, I gotta know,
because that's the cycle, right? The cycle. That's the cycle. The cycle is you come off the last one. You're like, fuck, that was terrible. Never doing that again, right? Then you hear about them doing another one. You're like, why are they still making these movies? Then you see the trailer and you're like, no, I'm not falling for that shit. And then the trailers keep happening and everybody else around you is getting hype. Then the final trailer comes and you're just like, but what if? And you don't.
The one that got me was like watching Starscream's transformation. I was like,
yeah.
Okay, so that's how the robot, that's, okay, hold on.
Yeah, no. Right.
I was like, God damn it.
It was no longer the Michael Bay, the Michael Baying of Transformer transformations. You're like,
it's so weird because people were like, oh yeah, Starscream's the red one. Actually, Starscream's body is white. He's just the 2 red air vents. Mm-hmm. But it's such a defining characteristic that little splash of red had me half asleep on my couch. Like, you know what, man? I don't actually know.
Right.
I was like, whoa.
Yeah. No,
never.
You gotta stay strong. Gotta stay strong. Like this is one of those ones that until somebody else tells me it's good. And I mean, not somebody who's been watching the other one, somebody who goes in as skeptical as I have been, because I have not seen one since 3.
So Charles Shelton from the Transmissions podcast, he was on the IDW Primer with me. He's going for the site for his podcast.
Oh, he's taking one for the team, for everybody. All right, cool.
So I was like, you are my barometer.
Yes.
And I trust you to be honest, because Hasbro doesn't pay them.
Yeah.
So you can afford to be honest. And I'm like, I want to hear it.
Yeah. No. That would be almost as bad as putting faith in WB, trying to get us excited for the theoretical Green Lantern movie by throwing Geoff Johns' name on it. So we'll cover this a little bit more. I'm gonna read all this stuff. We're gonna cover this more when we get into and we'll do the DC stuff first. But just FYI, folks do know Geoff Johns' name was on the first Green Lantern movie, right? Are we supposed to forget that?
How important he was being on set. I remember those articles.
Yeah. Are we supposed to forget that Ben Affleck directed the Batman movie co-written by Johns was supposed to be coming out this year? Huh. Or the Aquaman still hasn't dropped the trailer? It's coming at San Diego Comic-Con, guys. Or talked underwater. But I'm relieved that they're trying to stretch him so thin, and they're not trying to stretch him so thin anymore. For a while, I wasn't sure about whose writing schedule was more important, more inconsistent, him or Coates. Ooh, it's like that. Ooh.
It's a fair comparison.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like Coates because he's still like finding his water legs.
Yeah.
With Johns, it's just like they made him do everything.
Yeah, he did everything. Yeah, it was bad.
That's not when he's best.
Yeah,
we'll talk about it.
Yeah, we got that coming up soon. But if I'm honest, I just wrote in because I know y'all were covering Flash War in your poll list. Yes, nigga, let's go.
What did you read today?
Oh, I didn't read the one today, but I'm so far. I'm one behind. I didn't read today, but I read the one before. I didn't know it came out today.
You get an answer to who's faster.
Oh, okay. Well, I know what I'll be reading when I get off. The first thing I'll be reading when I get off. I'm not going to be able to show up before I do this. Nigga, let's go. Between that and the new Predator trailer, I'm all in. I'm all set. Appreciate the time, guys. Yo, that new Predator trailer.
I haven't seen it.
Nigga.
I'll watch it. That's what I'm doing when I get off.
Nigga. Yo.
I felt that.
Listen, I am a Predator mark. The only movies that I don't fuck with are basically the Alien versus Predator movies, and I'm like, they put the aliens in them. Fuck that. They don't count. They're the only ones that have sullied the Predator names. All the other Predator movies have been good. Huh?
Isn't one of the Alien versus Predators okay?
Yeah, the first one, the PG-13 one's okay. But the second one's the one that is basically shot in the dark. You can't see shit. And even then, the Predator. There's nothing wrong with the Predator. There's nothing wrong with him in the film. Right. Right. But yo, no, I love Predators. The last one they did, Robert Rodriguez directed that one. I love that one.
Was that when the alien planet they're getting hunted?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my shit. I like that a lot. Yo, what year was that?
Ooh, that was 2011. That was not that long. That was like 2011, I think.
No way.
2010. Yeah, okay. Adrian Brody. Yeah, 2010. I fucked with that film. Predator 2, which is great because you got crazy Gary Busey and Danny Glover sweating all over the fucking place. And obviously Predator. I mean, Predator is just like, that's just a fucking classic. So, like, they have, and then Shane Black is coming back to direct this one. And then they start the trailer. Again, you got to see the, well, you start the trailer with cocky ass, swarmy ass fucking Sterling K. Brown talking. Nigga, I'm in. Like, I'm watching the fuck out of this film. And they launched it with a Red Brand trailer. And that's just a lot of fucking blood. People gonna die. I'm in.
You're all about this.
I fucked with the Predator film. They give me the hope that the Alien films don't. And then Amani says, P.S. I'm not sure who Deepalm was hearing from, but this season Supergirl was actually incredible. Specifically the post crossover and dropping Kreisberg. Especially for the fans of Mantis, it's a must watch stuff. Yeah, I actually heard the season of Supergirl was pretty good.
I heard the opposite.
Oh. Yeah, Shanna and the Doctor have been reviewing it, and they enjoy it. So
I'll say, sorry, I was checking out my Hulu. I didn't realize now I have access to watch Logan. I may do that on my little vacation.
Congrats.
I may finally watch it.
Good for you.
Probably not. Maybe. Sorry. Oh, did you know The Last Jedi's on Netflix right now?
Yes.
I watched it last night. It's better than I remember being.
Yeah.
Like the Canto Bight stuff was really, wow. I was really blown away by it.
Well, because, when you think about what the society we're living in right now, but see, you're not a shallow idiot who can, we're not doing Star Wars today, guys. I'm sorry.
Also, I'm not saying it redeems the prequels, but I get it. I get what George was trying to do.
Yeah,
Anyway, he was wrong, but I get
it. All right, let's get into the topics we got. We got some quick hits. We've already kind of hinted at this. We were talking about some of the DC shakeups. It was kind of hinted at in some of the emails about Geoff Johns. So where did I? Hold on. We got two articles here, so I'm gonna go ahead and pull both of these up. No, stop. I'm. You know what I'm doing this? I'm pulling these out of just Trello.
Do you want to go with the first one, the CBR one?
I got one. Which one? Is
the Green Lantern movie Shazam comic book series?
I was going to do him out as DCEU.
It covers that too.
Okay, cool. Let's do that one then. Go ahead.
All right. Well, as found on CBR, Geoff Johns is out as president and chief creative officer of DC Entertainment. He will not be stepping away from DC properties, as detailed in the Hollywood Reporter's exclusive story. Johns will launch Mad Ghost Productions, which will allow him to work on films, television, and comic books while also still working with DC properties. His first project will be writing the screenplay for a Green Lantern Corps movie, which he had previously been connected to as a story writer and producer. He's currently working as a writer and producer on Wonder Woman 2 and has a co-writing and executive producing credit for the upcoming Dude Bro Underwater film.
Dude.
Hey, bro. He'll also be working with DC Comics more directly in order to launch multiple comic book projects, including a new Shazam title that is expected to see release sometime in the fall. Okay, so I'm going to do something really quick here, and I don't like it when you put things in here and make me talk about people I like. But here we are, again.
I almost didn't want to put this one in here myself. I like Geoff Johns.
Like I don't feel good at what I'm about to say.
Okay.
They don't get Shazam. And when I say they, I mean DC. It may mean that I don't get Shazam, and I'm okay with that. But I know for sure they don't get Shazam. They've tried this before. They've tried this before with Geoff Johns. He was the big seventh member of the New Justice League when the New 52 dropped. He was the addition. They changed his name to Captain Marvel and gave him a fucking hood. He can now shoot lightning from his fist because otherwise he's just Superman Light. But within, I don't know, a couple years, Shazam's not in the Justice League anymore. He didn't have a big send-off of a story. He just stopped showing up. I get what they're trying to do. What it sounds like they're trying to do, an outsider perspective, is take someone down who wasn't working within that role, appease him by giving him his own production company, but still make him write for you. We'll see how much work comes out of that. What's it called? Ghost something or other? Mad Ghost Productions? We'll see.
So,
but it sounds like if you're writing Wonder Woman 2, co-writing Aquaman, and writing Green Lantern Corps, and writing a monthly Shazam series, and probably having more of a hand in an editorial than anyone will actually admit, or that you're actually getting paid for, because I know for a fact that they underpaid Geoff Johns because there's no number big enough to give that man that much talent. That said, it doesn't sound like there's going to be a lot of time for Mad Ghost.
Can we finish Doomsday Clock? Look, I love Geoff Johns.
Excuse me. His other comic book projects include 3 Jokers with Jason Fabok, which is going to be fine, I guess, if it ever happens, and a new pop-up imprint called The Killing Zone, which promises to revitalize obscure DC properties. Did we just find a way to give Geoff Johns the occasional one-shot and have it tie it to nothing by calling it The Killing Zone? If Geoff Johns said, hey, man, I got a really great The Ray story. Hey, Killing Zone it is, buddy. And just let him write his little heart out? Like, what is happening here?
So here's the thing. On one side, I think this is good news for DC films. I do not think Geoff Johns, I felt like, was put there to quell the concerns of comic book nerds while not actually letting him have any control to do anything. So
they tried to pretend he was their Feige.
Right. And it was very clear that he was not. And so I think by dropping the facade, I think this is a good sign. I'm not saying that. It's saying that they're on the right track. They need to show me some actual finished product for me to feel that way. Maybe I'll see some trailers at San Diego Comic-Con that will make me feel some kind of glimmer of a hope, maybe a spark. Maybe my heart will grow quarter of a size. I don't know, right? But I think that's at least a good sign that they realize that, hey, this, and we'll even get into their other comments, but that their superficial shit wasn't working. On the comic book side, and for Geoff Johns, it's like everything you just listed there. It still feels like they have him doing too much. It feels like they have him doing too much. It's just like, it's one of the things. No matter how good and talented, it's not even that. We covered this already when we did Green Lantern, when we did Blackest Night. We were like, oh shit, this is where it got out of control. We literally watched it go out of control.
If you read Green Lantern from Rebirth to Blackest Night, you watch it spin out of control.
Yeah, you're like, oh, this is great. This is amazing. This is great. Oh, okay. Oh, that's a lot, but okay. Oh, it's so good, so good. Oh, well, we're doing that now. Oh, now come the fuck on. Like, you literally watch it happen, and it went out of control.
You know what's happening, you're like, it's still well written.
Yeah. It's again, this is not me saying it is ever poorly written. It's not poorly written.
You're like, wow, that's a really strange, bigger story to tell.
But here's the thing. That was just one character. That was just Green Lantern. Now, you heard all the stuff we just listed there. And again, he still has Doomsday Clock, but that thing is only on issue 5. It's supposed to be 12 issues, my nigga.
It's going to be 12. It's going to be 13. I think give him an extra one. I'm not sure.
Oh, what the fuck? It's going to be... How long are they going to do with it? It's going to be like a 2-year fucking... story. The way they propped up Doomsday Clock.
For the record, yes, it's going to be... To answer your question, yes, it's going... But I'll say this. It's either a massive scheduling fuck-up on the likes of which DC's been known to pull off. Real here. This is not out of character for DC to fuck up big. Or because we know for a fact Doomsday Clock occurs in the future of the DC universe, they wanted to fit another event in first. Which sounds like may have happened because I do believe this Scott Snyder Justice League story got bigger than they thought it would very quickly.
Okay.
Like I know for a fact that Metal was a Batman story first.
Yeah.
So if Metal happens and that alters your schedule and the things, and there are, you can see it in some of the books. I know in Superman it's happening and Terrifics, you've seen the beginnings of some of the things they're talking about in Doomsday Clock start to get set in place, like the Superman theory.
Mm-hmm.
You've seen it mentioned once or twice in DC Comics. So if they're going for a slow build where it all makes sense and like the end of Doomsday Clock ties you to where the current DC universe is, fine.
But hold on, I gotta
Let's say it. Don't just say we're moving to bi-monthly. You haven't earned the right, DC. You haven't.
But I have a question then, because it does seem like then that means.
I'm giving all best case scenarios.
Oh no, this is just rhetorical questions because it seems like to me that DC isn't actually planning out their events in front and up front and doesn't know where they're going, and they're kind of making it up as they go along. Which
for the record, that's the nicest reading of this,
right? Which kind of goes along with what DC has always done. Which is actually, like, I'm just sorry, I always bring this up because people always sit there that Marvel has too many events, and yet DC seems to have nothing but one event after another that overrun their schedules and then get too big, and have literally, at this point, I feel like, and I'm saying this because I'm reading some of the DC Rebirth stuff, and I like the DC Rebirth stuff, all right? I feel like DC is really on the cusp because I'm now seeing the word crisis, way too many fucking times. It's starting to give me a complex right now.
You're gonna text me after Flash War.
It's you. I never get these books. Yeah, it just seems like to me that they're about to fuck up something that they laid out that laid out pretty well. It seems like, because I remember before Rebirth launched, I remember we weren't doing mailbags, we were doing Super Tuesdays, and we were saying, it's like, I don't know, seems like DC doesn't know what the fuck they're doing. And then DC Rebirth launched, and we were like, oh, it was the Rebirth 1 issue drop with Geoff Johns. We were like, well, maybe not. Maybe they do know what they're doing.
That's the happiest podcast we've ever recorded.
Right. And we were like, we were wrong. We were so happy to be wrong. Now it's starting to feel like, maybe we weren't as wrong as we thought we were. Because it just feels like they have a lot of good talent. There is a lot of good writing going on there. But I'm just saying, at some point, you have to land the plane. And it feels like they're just circling the wagons and they're putting new event after new event after new event. Nothing's actually getting... You're not actually moving... Like, so the way Marvel is events is you stop an event...
Chris, the question is now, where do you land this plane? Because we've watched the same landing we'll call it a soft 5 since 1985. So, no, I mean, serious. Crisis, 0 Hour, Crisis Again, 52, Rebirth, no, Convergence, Rebirth. That's 6 since 1985. And I know I'm forgetting one.
Yeah, I mean, and that's like you said, and like you said,
like the reason Hickman stuff worked at Marvel is because you ended with one big story that we'd never seen. There's no way to do that now at DC. There's no new story. If you're going to tell, DC has to get away from saying we're going to be a universe like Marvel. Just tell good fucking stories. You know what I really enjoyed this year? James Tynion's The Fourth Detective Comics run. It's fucking amazing.
Oh,
it's a self-contained story. It runs for a certain number of issues, and now he's off the book. And someone else is going to tell their Detective Comics story. And that's fine. And I'm here for that too. I'm 2 issues in. I don't love it, but I like it because it's using like the signal. And I appreciate Dick Thomas as a character. But what I'm saying is like, you can't, if you can't, don't, DC.
But I think this goes into their movies as well. Because first of all, like, I'm with you. I'm catching up on this Green Lantern run, and holy fuck, I love this Green Lantern. I love this Green Lantern book. It's SJW. It's SJW as fuck.
As fuck.
It's the most SJW book I've ever read, and I'm reading all the Marvel stuff, guys. Yo, this Green Lantern book is definitely social justice warrior. It is.
Wait, which one are you reading? Are you reading Hal Jordan, the Green Lantern Corps?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I say Green Lantern. I mean Green Arrow.
Oh, Green Arrow.
Green Arrow. Yes. The Green Arrow low is just social justice.
Oh, the Green Arrow shit is openly like yes.
It's openly social justice warrior. I'm just like, hey, he's called himself a social justice warrior. What are we doing?
It's like a badge.
Right. It's like, yo, it's like, and like, oh wait, whatever. But I think this goes to the larger issue of DC films. Is like, and something that we've talked about with, DC films. Their problem is they're trying to make this DC universe, this connected universe, and they're like, maybe that's not your strong suit because it's never really been your strong suit. If you think about your favorite DC stories, they've almost always been the one-off stories with either Justice League by themselves as a unit or the individual characters. Yeah, you have the events here and there, but those aren't really what got you into the characters. And I feel like that's like they don't do the cinematic universe well because that's not really been the DC universe. Whereas Marvel Comics, that is their universe. Everything goes in Marvel goes to the next big event, and next story. You end one story to tell the next. Like that's just what it goes from. I feel like DC does a really good job. Like this, like what Tom King's doing on Batman, almost none of it touches anything else, and you don't care.
If it did, I'd be very upset.
Yeah, and you don't care. Like what the same thing happened with Snyder when Snyder did his 52 issues. It didn't really touch anything else, and it didn't have to. You didn't care. When I was reading those. I can't remember what issues of the Wonder Woman stuff from 52 were really good. It was like, but that's her same thing. She did her own little thing, own little story. That's fine. And then when you do the Justice League movie, the Justice League stories, you almost feel like they're different characters. Like it's a different version of Wonder Woman, a different version of Batman. And nobody cares. It's fine. I almost feel like because of what they do and how they've written their universe, that trying to connect everything like Marvel does just doesn't work. And that's not a bad thing. That's not a knock on DC. It's just, like you said, yo, stay in your lane. Do what works for you.
Different. Be different. It's fine to be different because you're right. I hadn't even thought about it that way. But if you look, like if you take the long view of both companies, there's one single Marvel story being told.
Yeah.
It weaves in and out, and they can have their own pocket stories. But this War of the Realms in Thor directly informs Jason Aaron's Avengers run. And that's happening because part of it is, this is so weird, the licensing of the characters. Because DC doesn't own their characters, Time Warner owns their characters. Mm-hmm. So there has to be a certain immutable quality to them. They can never venture too far left, right, or anywhere away from their kind of corporate image. That becomes complicated and kind of difficult because you'll get like things like the Singular Great Scott Snyder 52 issues, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when you say, and his is the exception because he's able to tie in things from his run through Metal and through Justice League, and so he's kind of the exception. He's I think the beginning of the Marvelization of the process,
right?
But if you look back, it's been kind of like Morrison's Batman and Johns' Green Lantern and Johns' Flash and Johns' JSA. Johns is very good. And like Gaiman's in it. And so all these things kind of exist on islands. And then you'd say, oh shit, Morrison's JLA. And then Kelly's JLA, which were always different lineups and always almost felt like new iterations.
Yep.
So I think you're right that maybe, just maybe, you just tell anthology stories if you're DC, particularly in the movies. Because why would you want to try to fight this thing that Stanley and Jack Kirby created the Marvel Universe? DC bought a bunch of characters from different creators and made them fit in one universe.
It just like this is why there's been a lot. And we're not going to go through it all, but like DC, Warner Brothers has announced all these other films. Like some of them, I think, are bad ideas. Like doing a Joker film is a bad idea, right?
If you name a movie on that slate right now that's not called Wonder Woman 2, it's a bad fucking idea.
Right. Well, what I mean by this is, it's a bad idea if they're trying to do the DC extended universe, it's a connected universe. If you are doing a story, if you're doing a movie and you're just telling that story, like you said, like they do with their books. Like I've heard, have you read the White Knight stuff for Batman? The Batman White Knight stuff with Joker?
Yes, is it Sean?
I'm not reading it.
I don't want to butcher this.
But I've heard people bring that up and say they like it, right? Let's say you make that's your Joker story, right? But it's just that movie, that's it. There's no other connection to it. They're not going to make another movie off of it. You're just telling that story right there, something like that. You can do that. I think that when they were talking about, hey, we're going to do Superman Red Sun. Yeah, well, I mean, okay, fine. If you're going to start saying we're no longer going to do this connected universe thing, we're going to do our own thing. Yeah, we're just going to tell this one little
Batman Hush. Just do fucking Hush.
But think about it. That's what they've been doing with the animated stories anyway, right? So you could just do that with the live action and make just as much money. Because if you think about it, going back to what we were saying, this is what people know. People know like the story. They don't know. They're not there for they don't want the new stuff for. And I think that's something that's been hard.
Characters. They know the characters. Tell us a story.
Yeah, I think this is the thing that's been hard for DC is, Marvel had a ragtag group of characters they just had to scrap together. I was like, and again, the Avengers, people know the Avengers, but they weren't like everybody else. They weren't like everybody else that every other studio had, right? So Marvel could pretty much say, all right, cool. We're going to create a universe around these characters and build up from there. It's kind of what we've always done in the comic books anyway. So let's do that. And they went and did that. DC, on the other hand, they had legends. You have legends. You don't get to really just go out there and just do anything willy-nilly with it. You have to find out, but then you also have to figure out, well, which version of Wonder Woman are you using?
It's even more basic than that. And first of all, that White Knight series is Sean Murphy. He drew and wrote it.
Oh shit! Double duty.
Amazing. It's really good. Secondly, I said it kind of in passing earlier, but as I'm thinking about it, it kind of rings more true. The Marvel Universe is the ideas of two men.
Mm-hmm.
DC Comics were bought up properties that they forced together. So to say we're going to tell the origin story of the DC Universe, it's hard to do.
Yeah,
because it's not supposed to fit.
Yeah, it just isn't.
It's the Justice League problem. Like when you read a super or a Batman book and he's fighting someone he's not strong enough to fight. Like we know he's got Superman's cell number. Like what are we doing?
Yeah, it's so I think that's the thing because we'll get into the last story here where DC is them. We decide their best business plan for them to make actually good movies. Yes, motherfucker.
Which is the most infuriating quote I've ever heard. About
right, it's fucking stupid in the world, but no, it's like this is what you like. They're trying to work something out there, and I think that like we said, like trying to do what Marvel did is just it's not going to work. Like I read the last issue of Hickman's Shield, right? And in one of the panels, there's literally going back to like this ancient time in Egypt, and there's literally an image of Apocalypse fighting next to his like adoptive father back in Egypt. It's just in the back.
They're fighting the Brood.
Right, they're fighting the Brood, and I'm like, Yo, this is when we did the Apocalypse thing. We were talking about that earlier. That early, I can't remember, was it Apocalypse Rising or something like that? That book that they did with that. I'm like, Marvel's always doing things like that. Like, that's not an important piece of that story. It's literally there in the background for you to go, it's all connected. That's what Marvel does all the time. Everything is connected. Everything goes together, you know? And it's one long story. It's why, it can be why it's infuriating for new readers, because they're like, well, where's the jumping in point? You know, it's why when they did we relaunched the X-Men stuff with X-Men Gold, and they put those, they did a spread, there was like 6 pages of, you know, the history of the X-Men and how you got to where you're at now. Some people were complaining, but I was like, well, no, they have to do that because there is everything.
What came before matters.
Yeah, it all matters. It's not like DC where you can be like, well, we rebooted like 6 times before. Every 10 years we reboot. So
it's Stan Lee's old axiom.
Yeah,
every comic is someone's first comic.
Yeah, and so
everyone.
It's just I think there's a fundamental difference between how these two companies form their comic book and how you make movies off of it. This is why I'm not too, again, some of the one-off-ish movies they've been announced, I'm like, what? But I'm not opposed to the idea of them saying, fuck a connected universe. Let's just tell a bunch of individual stories. I think that's the winning formula for DC, to be perfectly honest. You know?
Let's go tell our best stories.
Yo.
Let's get the best stories we've got.
And here's the thing. They need to say that up front. That's what they need to do, because right now you have people speculating on this shit. And that's one thing I don't think the Warner Brothers, and I know there's a Warner Brothers problem, they have not figured out they need to get ahead of these stories. And don't let the bloggers, don't let the rumors, don't let the YouTube people come out there and tell your narrative for you. That's the thing that people don't understand. When I say they need a Feige, it's not only just him being the architect of the MCU, it's also him basically going, yeah. This is what we're talking about. This is what's going to go forward. That's not true. This is what we're looking at, and being the mouthpiece for everything going on. That's what they really need right now. Let's move on. We spent a lot of time on that. Let's move on to some other stuff. We're getting out of DC. We're getting out of Warner Brothers and DC. Let's go over to Marvel and
so good news. Great.
Yeah, we're gonna talk some Captain Marvel stuff. Let's start with the Brie Larson thing first. Because the title of this episode I know is already going to be "That's My Captain Marvel."
It's true.
Because Brie Larson's speech calling for more critics of color. Brie Larson wants to see more underrepresented reporters and critics in the entertainment industry. At the Crystal and Lucy Awards, the actress announced that Sundance Film Festival and Toronto Film Festival have pledged 20% of their press credentials to minorities to better reflect America, which is great because we're trying to go to the Toronto Film Festival next year. Not going to do it this year, but we're trying to do it next year. So, yeah. Larson was on hand to accept the Crystal Award for Excellence in Film Wednesday night in the Beverly Hilton when she dedicated her speech discussing the recent Critics' Choice study published by USC in Edinburgh on Monday. Citing the study, Larson said, of the 100 highest grossing movies in 2016, less than a quarter of the critics were white women, less than 10% were underrepresented men, and only 2.5% were women of color. Larson emphasized the issue that this presents for this film, that this presents for today's industry, given that reviews change live and the impact of the films that are considered for award season. He also reiterated the importance in the industry of having. He also reiterated the importance in having an industry that truly represents the community we live in. Am I saying I hate white dudes? The Oscar-winning actress asked repeatedly through her speech. No, I am not. She answered, I do not want to hear what a white man has to say about A Wrinkle in Time. I want to hear what a woman of color or a biracial woman has to say about the film. I want to hear what teenagers think about the film. If you make a movie that is a love letter to women of color, there's a chance that a woman of color does not have access to a review or critique of your film, she said, while revealing plans to roll out an opt-in program that will provide studios with access to underrepresented journalists and critics. Do not say the talent is not there, because it is. Man, won't my Captain Marvel do that, yo?
Kevin Feige was quoted in this month saying Captain Marvel is the face of Marvel films going forward.
Y'all fucking think?
What a face.
Like, but think
What
about,
a fucking face.
but think about it, because you know what? Who she's doing, even because like Chris Evans is, we were like, Chris Evans kind of woke, right? She's doing even more already. And her film's not even out. Like, we're about to have the wokest captain in the fucking world. It's gonna be great. I cannot wait for Captain Marvel. It's gonna be so, not just so good, but the rollout with this, with Brie Larson already doing. Again, this is nothing related to Captain Marvel. It's just, this is all her on her own. This is not
Brie Larson, her heart. Or you know what? Someone will say cynically, but she was told to feel in her heart. And you know what? I don't give a fuck.
She did it.
Yeah, I didn't mean to, or I meant to. I can't judge feelings. I judge actions, and she's acting like a winner. Yes, my Captain Marvel.
That's my Captain Marvel. Yeah, I gotta get a shirt that says that. This movie's gonna be great. I think she's gonna be great, and I've been talking to this. I was talking to some people yesterday. I'm just like, if they really like do Carol Danvers, like we know Marvel Studios will do Carol Danvers, we're all in for a fucking treat, man. We are all in for a fucking treat. Speaking of Captain Marvel to be scored by a female composer, marking the major breakthrough. Pinar Toprik, I think that's her name, has signed on to the superhero movie, which is due for release in March 2019. I think she is going to be she's been scoring Sci-Fi's Krypton, and she also penned additional music for Justice League, which we will not hold her. You know what? There's nothing wrong with the music in Justice League. I don't think.
Movie never happened.
Yeah, we're pretending it didn't happen. But she is going to be composing Captain Marvel, and first woman, female composer to score a major. Well, I thought it was just for the MCU, but first female composer to score a major comic book movie.
Wow, that's crazy, and it's so wild because I think Black Panther was the second or third film with a woman cinematographer in the Marvel universe. But this is major, man. This is not just major for Marvel; it's major for. And people are like, well, Wonder Woman beat Captain Marvel to the theaters. They had all right, well, everybody relax. This isn't an internet message board. You're not throwing up firsts, but it sends a message. It's something I never really considered. Did you? Like, it's something I never. I don't really like revisit the soundtracks like that, but I never thought of who's scoring this. And now I'm glad I can say I know who's scoring this one.
I gotta say, one of the things I think has been a really great thing about including diversity in films is that it makes you start looking at who's really behind the camera, because everybody thinks about just the director, but now, I mean, you got to think about everything that's happened. Not just directors, but like second unit director, because I keep forgetting her name, but we have a black woman who's going to be the second unit director on Star Wars, first time ever. Like again, I understand all the antitrust stuff and people monopoly things like that with the thing people are saying with Disney, but they're at least putting their money where their mouth is. They're putting their money where their mouth is, and it's more than some other studios. So I know that you shouldn't do that, but I kind of don't care at this point. I know that's wrong, but hey,
look, I'll be wrong.
Tell other studios to step the fuck up. Because here's the thing. Because I know a lot of people do say, hey, look, Wonder Woman did beat Warner Brothers beat Marvel to the punch with Wonder Woman, and I'm like, first of all, that's bullshit, because Marvel Studios only existed for 10 years. WB has had Wonder Woman for how long? So already,
I don't even entertain the arguments.
I don't know. So it's already bullshit. But even beyond that, it's like, who wrote Wonder Woman? Patty Jenkins had to do everything herself. Like when it came to actually, hiring, people behind the camera and directing the film. But she didn't get that budget. She didn't get that push. She didn't get the marketing. I think she will for 2, definitely. And they get that. But Warner Brothers didn't believe in that shit. We're already here with Marvel.
Yeah.
The point that Kevin Feige's already come out and said how important, just like he said how important Black Panther was, has already been coming out spewing how important Carol Danvers and Captain Marvel is going to be going forward, and how important that character will be going forward for after Avengers 4, right? But he has this as well. I didn't put this in the notes, but I know you've heard about it. Kevin Feige says more female superheroes will come to the MCU. I think at one point he said something like, let me see. Yeah. But as the plan goes forward, I think frankly will be, eventually I think they're going to be going to reach a time where it's just not it will be amazing to see all of our female characters the way we've seen them. Most, never all male, but primary male. I think we're getting to the point where we have so many great female characters that are just our heroes as opposed to when are they all female, all male. It's just that the Marvel heroes, more than half of which will be women. He's going to have, which at this point, when you think about it, and you think about when the calls were coming for having more women, because it's like the only person was Black Widow. When you think about it now, every film since, I guess, Guardians 2 has had a major female character.
Oh, yeah.
Several.
And let's not forget this. Widow was the first crossover Avenger.
Mm-hmm.
She was the first Avenger in another Avengers movie.
Yeah. So, you had, because let's see, Guardians 2, obviously you have Nebula and Gamora. In 2, you have, in Spider-Man, we'll add in MJ and Liz. Let's see, in Thor Ragnarok, obviously, you have Hela and Valkyrie. Black Panther, well, need I say more? And then Infinity War has, all those characters in Infinity War. Huh?
Every damn body.
Right. And then Ant-Man and the Wasp literally has a female villain. And then you have Lily as Wasp finally kicking ass. And she does kick ass in that film. So going forward, and here's the thing, out of all those movies I listed, a lot of women of color too. I forgot about that because I said Gamora and Nebula, but we also forgot Mantis.
Yep.
And Guardians. So, yeah, I mean, he's not wrong here. And I think that's important to get, getting more and more representation. Now we do need to get some LGBT representation in there. And I think we will. I think he mentioned somewhere that we'll soon be getting 2. And I hope that it's like 2 in film. Because, again, I think that when people make complaints about Marvel, like legit complaints, I think they listen. And I think they hear it and they go in and they'll put it in there. So I think the next time you see characters supposed to be LGBT in the film, they are going to be in the film. So, yeah. No, I mean, listen, International Women's Month.
None of this is a mistake. None of this is an accident. None of it.
Yeah.
All planned.
All right, let's get some quick topics real quick, and then we'll do our pull list. My pull list is going to be short because I didn't read a whole lot. But let's do the topics. So it's the first one. You put this in there. I'll let you go for the topics. You take them because you put both of these in there.
Reopen my Trello board. Excuse me.
What have you become? What have I made?
All right. So silly. This has been this is brought up during the Batman on Batman podcast, and there's a portion of each podcast where Mark Bernard and Kevin Smith open the floor to their live audience that's coming to Villainy Cantina, and they open for Q&A. Someone brought up this question that I thought was pretty interesting. Would it have not necessarily made it for a better movie, but maybe a better continuity if Christian Bale had stayed on as Batman? So what do you mean? He said, to clarify, if you just do if Batman vs Superman becomes Superman 2, Return of the Dark Knight. If Christian Bale, who retired, Batman wouldn't retire. What?
No, sorry, you broke it for a minute there.
Okay. You have Christian Bale, who had retired as Batman, who we all know Batman wouldn't actually retire, but I digress. But we see that Batman. We see Michael Caine call him and say, sauce, tangerines, best line reading ever. He says, you got to come back. Superman's killed a bunch of people at Wayne Enterprises. And that, we see that Batman. We see what made this Batman older and kind of more aggressive. Would that have made for a more, not a better movie because, script writers and directors and whatnot, but like, would it have made for more, I guess, continuity-friendly read of the movie?
I don't think so. I think we both have said this. Like, I love the Dark Knight trilogy, but I also realize that it's a closed-off story. The reason why the Dark Knight trilogy works is because it followed what we said before, which is it's just one creator telling his one story.
Yep.
That lasted 3 movies, and that was it. Never,
crazy
huh?
how that worked.
Right. Never supposed to be more. Never was supposed to add in other thing, even though they wanted to. He was like, "No, that's not what this is for. You got to do something else." So I don't believe that having Christian Bale stay on as Batman, because I don't even think he was. I honestly, I don't think he's a better Batman than Ben Affleck. To be perfectly honest. That said, the general concept that you're saying could have worked as a Saw reboot, kind of like what they did with Incredible Hulk from the first Hulk movie, where you start with that idea and you do that. And,
yeah, okay, that's what you're saying. Even recast, but still just refer to the previous movie that this was the inciting incident that brought him back.
Right, because at least because the problem I have with this. One of the many problems with Batman vs Superman is you jump right in with Batman already, like you don't know, like you can infer where this Bruce's headspace is, but so much has happened, and you're just like, that's a lot of stuff that have happened to just have Superman showing up just now.
But I actually, you're right. You're 100% right, and I think it was hard to grasp emotionally, to connect emotionally with Ben's Batman, because while we got like the spray painted Robin suit, that was really it. We just got they told instead of shown, which we've complained about before, but they never illustrated why he was so broken and so at the end of his rope. They just showed that they said Batman's tired. Like, what? I mean, sure, I guess, but maybe explain how Batman got tired.
But like I said, if you come off of forgetting the whole Robin thing, if you come off of saying we're soft rebooting from the end of that Nolan trilogy, well then you understand.
If the Nolan trilogy happened, this is going to come from that. You'll see how we do it.
Yeah, that would have. I think you could. I think that there's an idea here, right? I don't think the way that they worded it works. I think that's a stupid idea. Because I hear there's a lot of people going, they should have just taken Nolan's Batman and continued on from them. I'm like, no, that's stupid. That would not have worked. However, they could have done, because we've seen it before. Again, like I said, Marvel did it with Incredible Hulk. You can set the general audience's expectations by going, this is where we're picking up from.
Right.
You know? Having Batman and Selena out somewhere.
Touchstone.
Right. Having Batman with a Selena out somewhere saying, I gave it all up, but then seeing the destruction that happened at Wayne Enterprise going,
I had not even that. You just have him looking at his cell phone while she's asleep. Her back's to us so he can't see it. And it's him watching the coverage of Metropolis.
Yeah.
Of Zod versus, and then by the time she wakes up, he's just gone.
And here's the thing. Don't make it a fight. Make it him coming back going, you need help.
Well, no, not even that. Make it, if you're so determined to make it a fight, now I believe he has to put Superman down.
Or do it early.
Now I believe that he believes he has to put Superman down. Mm-hmm. I've seen what Batman's gone through.
Yep. And do it early.
I would believe that.
Another thing too, you got to do it early in the film. Because that's one of the things that also kind of hurt. They did that in almost like the third act, then weirdly enough, brought in like a fourth act to fix it all.
No. People say my instructions a set in stone thing about stories, and DC's like, watch this.
We have a fourth act. What? It's crazy. So
it's like Pimp Your Ride with Axe.
Right. Like I said, I also think, but this goes back to what we were saying before about, I think we've actually kind of stumbled on something here with DC and their individual stories, because let's be honest here, Zack Snyder, and here's the thing, I think he would have been good at this. Zack Snyder wanted to tell Injustice.
He really did.
He wanted to tell Injustice, and here's the thing, I actually think a Zack Snyder Injustice movie might actually work because it's right up his alley. Still got to give him, he can't have complete control, creative control. He does not do good with, he needs somebody overseeing him. But that's what he wanted to tell. He wanted to tell the alternate stories. And if we're being real here, with as crazy as Zack Snyder is with shit, alternate stories are right up his alley. That's his thing. He's not the traditionalist. He's not going to, I'm going to do this. He's not the guy you go to for that, right? And so, and yeah, I think that's what happened. I think that I think there is something here. I think you could have done something like that, but then it also requires having the vision to plan something out and figure out what you were going to do. But again, let's be honest here. The DCEU and the way it happened was a rushed reaction to Iron Man and the MCU.
They were scared.
Yo, oh my God, what the fuck? That worked? No, again, nobody remembers how improbable it was that Marvel Studios would work it out and that it would work. You know? And so when it did, and then when they were like, oh, we'll just do what we've always been doing, and every studio kind of had a moment of panic. Every studio. Shit. Actually,
because all of a sudden, not only had Marvel put a winner out on their own money and figured out, hey, people will watch this, they threatened to make more. Like, they threatened, the Sam Jackson scene is a fucking threat. Like, you can say Kevin Feige, oh no, it was a nice shout to the fans. If it wasn't going to work, hey, at least you tried. No. Maybe that's what it was intended to be. The back end of it, the way it landed after the success, is as threat.
And the real panic came when Avengers hit $1 billion. Because then it was like...
And also when Warner Brothers ran out of Harry Potter books.
Well, yeah, because that was the same year that The Dark Knight Rises came out. And it was like, okay, we got to hit... Because then they were like, okay, we got $1 billion, but we just ended with Christopher Nolan. What the fuck are we going to do next? Marvel just put out this $1 billion and a half dollar film with Avengers.
What year was that?
That's 2012. 2012 was a great year. Because we got Avengers and we got Dark Knight Rises in that same year. And and remember, they had also just had a flop the year before with Green Lantern.
So Deathly Hallows Part 2 was in 2011. So Warner Brothers, for real deal at this point, is feeling the crunch because they just gave up their last franchise.
Yes.
That was their like, oh, you got Marvel, we got Harry Potter. And guess what? Not the worst plan. Except there's only so many books.
Because remember, people forget. Like, at one point, I'm not going to drag you in on this one. I might get people to come back and revisit that Green Lantern film with me. Because people have forgotten. People have forgotten. People have forgotten that was supposed to be the start of the DCEU. And that at the end of the film, you had Sinestro getting the yellow lantern ring. Because they were going to make more. And that was supposed to be the first film in their new universe, but it flopped hard because they went over $200 million with it. So then they came out, and then Superman, Man of Steel, was supposed to come out not in 2013, but in 2012 as well. They pushed it back because they really had to fix shit. So it's like they've been panicking since then, and I think that they just, again, I don't know if now's the time they figured it out. We'll see, but I don't know. We'll see. All right, the second one you got going for us.
The second one, and I'm not going to start I don't want any problems with you, Todd McFarlane folks. He drew a lot of great Spider-Man for me. Huge fan. Todd McFarlane might be crazy. We covered here on the show last month, Todd McFarlane threatened, announced that he would be directing the Spawn return to cinema. Well, he's still talking about it. Here's a quote from this week's in CBR. Here's a big what if. Then is it possible in the future Sony could have a crossover with Venom and Spawn? It's possible. So I would live in presenting the possibility to the Sony executives when we get ready. My conversation with them would be, why wouldn't you? Here's what I know. Let's say Venom is huge. I hope it is. Then no matter who distributes Spawn, the first thing you'll see in every trailer will be the co-creator of Venom. So then my question to Sony is, why would you let one of your competitors use that line, given that it was your effort that made Venom work, your money that made Venom work, your marketing that made Venom work? I think it's worth asking then, what happens if they both work? And then what happens 10 years down the line when they want to do the Spawn Venom crossover and they get to the guy who helped create both of these characters to direct it? Might be kind of cool. So I'm going to translate all that bucket of cocaine crazy. Todd McFarlane has no one to distribute Spawn.
That's what got me. Cause I was like,
That's the full quote.
because I'm like, wait a minute. He's announced this because they're getting Jamie Foxx is gonna be. I don't know. Wait. So wait, you've announced that you have a star. You've announced that you're directing the film. You're making this film.
Well, like independent films is how it works.
I didn't know it was an independent film. That's the thing. I didn't know it was an independent film. I thought he already had all that taken care of.
No one knew it until right now.
Oh God.
It sounds like he found some financing. Probably, people who are big fans of Spawn books. I know Kevin Smith got one of his movies financed by some guy, some oil tycoon who loved one of his movies. So I know something like this happens for indie movies. The thing about it is, it goes from wouldn't that be a cool idea to please distribute my movie real fast. Because he's had a sentence that no one said out loud yet. What if Venom's really good? What if Venom's a massive success? Hey Todd, just spitball here. What if it's not? and how and where in the good sweet heavenly fuck do you imagine that we're going to be throwing directed by the co-creator of Venom in front of your fucking movie? We're going to call it Sony's Spawn, you self-righteous prick. And in 10 years, let's say Venom's a massive hit. And let's say Spawn occurs.
And Santa Claus is real.
Hey, play in the world. In 10 years, if these two franchises are even viable, there's no way on God's green earth they would combine them and say, hey, remember the guy who co-created Venom? Let's have him direct it. Like, it's one thing, like, I didn't even, like, really read the whole quote. I copied and pasted and put in the Trello and just wrote,
I read it and was like, there's no way that's a real quote. So first of all, I was like, oh, D-Palm's fucking with me. Because you know what? Because I made all those jokes about how Venom in the Venom trailer looks as bad as the Spawn movie from all those years ago. That's what really got me. I'm like, wait, Todd, did you see the Venom CG and go, that looks like my character?
You know what he saw it and said? That's a company that needs someone to tell them they're pretty. I can be that guy. And maybe, just maybe, get someone to distribute this shitty movie.
Oh, God. That's not it.
I want to just make this very clear. And I'm not a Spawn guy. I'm not a Todd McFarlane guy. I know that you got people who are out there. I've heard from you. I appreciate your demands. I appreciate what Spawn means to the industry. Not my cup of tea. I want better for you. This isn't me cracking on Todd McFarlane for creating these characters that never connected with me. I'm not doing that. I'm cracking Todd McFarlane for thinking that he should be the one directing the motherfucker. Did they run out of funding and say, we can't afford a director? And Todd was like, well, guess it's time for me to step up. Todd McFarlane's never directed anything in his life. Anything. Show me some home movies, Todd. You got kids? Like, what the fuck is happening here? Who thought this was a good idea? Is the money guaranteed? Is that why Jamie Foxx allowed his name to be dragged to the proverbial and potentially literal mud over this? Are things that tight, Jamie? I don't know how it's happening. I don't know how Todd McFarlane... What if Chris Claremont directed X-Men? What the fuck are we talking about? I don't know. Why wouldn't you just hire a director? There's people who do this, Todd. They're called directors. They went to film school. They have film credits. You want Spawn to be good? Awesome. I want Spawn to be good. Better marketplace. Rising tide floats all boats. Let's do this. Motherfucker, you're not the one to do it. Am I crazy?
No.
Like, I'm saying it out loud. I'm like, no, that all sounds completely lucid. All of it sounds lucid. But the fact that there's a man who has enough money that no one's told him no yet. Like, that's rich.
Well, to be
rich, that's fucking rich. No one's like, Todd, maybe you should hire a director.
Well, to be fair, no one's told him yes either.
That's a great point because I just thought about that. There's literally no one above him because there's no oversight.
Because
because I guarantee the deal he sold these money guys was, I'm the guy who co-created Venom. Oh my god, let's get out. That's enough. I'm done. That was the end of that bit. Sorry, it was a long way to get there, but I got there. That was not prepared material, but it turned into a bit about halfway through. And I was like, I know how to land this bit. That's line. Comedy happens in threes, kids.
Oh my god. Oh my god. All right. Poll this time. Let's do this. So we can get out of here. I'll go first because I'm easy. Like I said, I spent listen to our character corners. That tells you mostly what I've been reading most of the time here. Some other stuff that I've been reading. Let's see. The Darth Vader book, the new Darth Vader book.
I gotta read this fucking book.
Yo, it's fucking fantastic. It is so good.
Every month we talk about it, and every month I'm like, I'm gonna go read it. I don't.
Yeah, is it Charles Soule is writing that one? I believe he is. And you said what?
I like his stuff. I have no reason not to already.
Oh yeah. No. I love his stuff too. It's really good. Well, like I said before, this is the book that takes place like right after is right after episode 3. So this is Vader going through all this stuff, and so so the last issue 17 ended with them on the Mon Calamari planet, from Admiral Akbar and them, and it basically shows you how the Rebels got those ships, those 3 ships. It is like I said I wasn't going to go to a Star Wars rant, and I'm not going to do that. But for all the people that are complaining about Disney got rid of the EU extended universe and blah blah blah, they got rid of those stories. You need to be reading these Marvel comics. These are the stories that are continuing the stories from the movies. All the movies, the prequels, like they're so good. And this is it's a fantastic issue. This issue made me go, huh, I see where they got those ships from, and that is terrifying. Okay. So I read that. I said this before. I've been reading a lot of. I've been catching up on the Green Arrow book. I think I'm almost done with Volume 4, The Rise of Star City. Again, this book is super SJW, and I cannot understand how everybody complains about SJW Marvel but doesn't say anything about this book because it is amazingly SJW. Now something else from DC I read, I finally caught up on, and I have to say this, and I know Deepal might yell at me. I finally finished Dark Knight Metal. Not my cup of tea. It's just a lot. I think part of the problem might be that I need to read all those side books too.
Oh no, there's some I would advise, but you know what? That's fine. You can be wrong. That's a safe place to be wrong.
I think it was just a lot.
It is a lot.
It's a lot.
It's and that's why I kind of liked it because Marvel kind of like not the books are the big event books. They feel like almost like it's always building crescendo. This was heavy metal. This was fucking pedal to the metal for 6 issues.
Yeah.
And what's cool is they've allowed those issues to seed the Marvel universe. So right now, the Green Lantern book is dealing with the Dark Stars, and they got their armor from when Hal wore the armor in metal.
Yeah. Well, no, and I do realize that. I have realized that this definitely has a larger impact on, and I believe the story that's Snyder telling.
Snyder play with the entire DCU, which is partially why it's exciting for me because we haven't had, like you said, this is kind of the Marvelization of DC storytelling. Can you tell one large narrative and do it in a way? But it looks like the metal stuff is going to tie into Doomsday Clock, which is what
right, and that's why I'm reserving the right to go back and revisit metal because I think the other thing too is I've realized I read stories different for the different publishers. I read DC stories differently than I read Marvel stories. About as far as what I pay attention to, how long it takes me to read them, and how much I go back and read. Like I found myself like having to read Dark Knight Metal like I read a Marvel book, and I wasn't used to it. So maybe I need to go back and revisit it. So there's that. Obviously, Batman. Those last 2 issues with Batman with the Joker. Tom King is a cheat code.
I don't know what to say anymore. Like, I'm glad you brought it up because I was like, I'm going to have to gush about Tom King again, but now you've set me up to do so.
I mean, first there's the first one. I think that's 48 with him with Joker and Batman. You know, but then the
Gotham isn't killing them.
right.
No, careful this time. Last time you saw. Anyway.
And then 49 is with him and Catwoman.
Oh my god!
It's just like here's the underrated thing: the way he's writing Catwoman.
Oh, he's really found her voice, and what's even funnier to me is they've actually answered in Pre-52. There's an answer to the Penguin question about the umbrella.
Right.
He's always got birds around. Geoff Johns hand covers it, and I almost had the Flash issue in my head. I think actually, I'm not going to embarrass myself. I guess. It's when Nightwing and Flash meet at the Flash Museum, and they bust up Girder and Double Down and Penguin.
Mm-hmm.
And Penguin and Girder and Double Down ask why with the umbrellas, and the answer is because he's always brings the birds with him, so he doesn't get pooped on.
Let's see. A lot of stuff you probably cover. One thing I will say, caught up with finished Shield, and now I need to go back.
I'm an issue back.
I read 6, and now I have to go read the whole thing again because it's Jonathan Hickman, and this is what I'm saying. Like, I read this, didn't understand the last issue, and I'm like, it's still good, so I gotta go back and read it. I was not prepared to do that with Dark Knight Metal. I am definitely prepared to do that with Jonathan Hickman and Shield because it's so trippy, so out there.
It's so dense,
but you know it's tied to everything, and you've seen it. Like again, we're gonna be talking about the we're gonna be doing Hickman's Fantastic Four run, and I'm like, Nathan Richards is in here, and like it explains so much about his relationship with Reed. Like it's just so good. And that's it for me. I'll let you go through with the rest of it. I know you have more stuff.
Amani mentioned Flash 4.
Yeah,
we get the definitive answer this week as to who's faster.
Look, I don't even need to read. I know who the fuck is fast. I don't need to read. I know who the fuck is. I'm gonna read it.
I know you do, and that's the best part because you're right. We haven't said. I just know who you're saying, and I agree with you, and you're right.
Put some respect on his name, God damn it. Anyway, I'm sorry.
Welcome back. Anyway, what else are we doing? Oh, they're doing so outside of Dark Knight Metal. I started getting kind of involved in like the line-wide reboot. Another line-wide reboot. Another line-wide reboot.
It's funny how one publisher can get away with that and other ones can't.
He's like it's the Obama presidency. Marvel's the Obama presidency. He's like, that motherfucker's moving those goalposts. No, we're not. Yes, you are. I'm watching them move. Because I've got a control presidency to my right. And you don't move the goalposts for them. You ignore them entirely. Anyway. Yeah, the line-wide reboot's doing a lot for me. They're rebranding Teen Titans as kind of Damian Wayne saying the adults not just shouldn't be training us, they're wrong as fucking the way they're doing things. And so it's a new take on the Teen Titans where it's less like sanctioned and more like, oh, we're just going to kind of do what we want. They've given the Titans book back to Nightwing and his crew, but now they're tracking down the superheroes or new metahumans that have been released due to the events of Metal when they broke a hole in the source wall. What else? Flash. I just talked about Flash 4. It's been amazing. Hal Jordan, the Green Lantern Corps, is coming in at 50, and it's one of those. It's a one writer run, so I can recommend 1 through 50.
Okay. I actually had the first because they had a big Green Lantern sale in Comics All. I have like the first 4 or 5 volumes.
Yeah. So 48 or 47 dropped today. Really good stuff. I'm really enjoying it. There have been these tie-in books to the Batman, The Wedding. I think one was Red Hood and Anarchy. Harley and Joker came out today. And it's kind of these pairing offs. One's Nightwing and Hush, Batgirl and Riddler. And it's kind of pairing off the Bat family with a Rogue and kind of exploring what the idea of Bat marrying the cat is. And it kind of answers some of the logistical questions because for Bruce Wayne to marry Selena Kyle is kind of a problem.
Right.
But Batman's going to marry Catwoman.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what the wedding's going to be. So it's going to be a very superhero wedding. We just talked about the Joker issues where... was that it? That's speculation.
What, the end of Joker?
That was a dead Joker.
Hmm. Okay.
I mean, look, you and I both know what we know. I'm just saying.
Well,
I'm telling you what the scuttlebutt is saying.
What I love, but you know what the thing I like about it though is, for the most part, because even Snyder didn't really do this. For the most part, Tom King really hasn't used Joker. He did the war jokes and riddles, but even that was not really Batman battling Joker so much. Like the way he's used Joker has actually been really, really interesting and refreshing. In that Joker just kind of almost been a rogue when he's not usually that way.
Yeah.
And I like it. So I don't think it's the end of Joker because it's... Here's the thing. I know it's not the end of Joker because they're thinking about doing a Joker film. So it's the end of Joker until that Joker film hits. Or whatever they decide to do with that is.
With Geoff Johns.
Right. Or that too. So, So, yeah. Joker's off the table, but I feel like he's almost always been off the table with Tom King because Tom King's been telling his own story that doesn't revolve around the Joker, which... It's kind of interesting to me because that story was basically Joker going, no, he needs to be with me. He loves me. I have to do this to save him because if he marries you, he will no longer be Batman. And then what about me? So it's if you break it down, and maybe when we do our Tom King Batman story, we'll break it down more there. But it really was like almost like a meta commentary of that. Because if you think about it, Tom King's really been ignoring the Joker. And the Joker comes back in these two issues like, stop ignoring me.
Yeah. Yeah. You're supposed to be with me. Which is a kind of a juxtaposition to Snyder's run. It was kind of the whole run's about the relationship with the Joker.
Yeah. Yeah.
From the very first issue, when he's fighting alongside the Joker because Dick's wearing the Joker mask.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Let's you say the DC side of things. Marvel-wise, I'm reading too much. Like I mentioned, the end of Dan Slott's run. Really enjoyed the Spider-Man. His first issue of Iron Man is out. It's a lot of fun. I would advise people to get involved early. What other books am I reading from Marvel? The X books. I'm just an addict. The X-Men Gold. The wedding happened, or a wedding happened, and we're getting a book out of it. Spoilers. Mr. and Mrs. X. Gambit and Rogue in their own book. And I couldn't be happy.
Yo, and what's your name is writing it, right?
Yep.
Yeah, Kelly Thompson, who wrote the Rogue and Gambit book. And that book was great, so I'm in.
100% in. Astonishing X-Men wrapped up this run. They're going to a new creative team who we've discussed in the podcast before because they're putting Havoc as the leader. Greg Land's drawing it.
Interiors?
Yeah.
Ooh, boy. Well, we'll get the cliff notes.
I don't know what to do. Like, I'm at a point. I'm in a place for this. Thor is very upset.
Yeah, very. Yeah, I can see.
I agree, buddy. Yeah, it's going to be a problem for me. The X-Men Blue Book has been a lot of fun. They're kind of wrapping up the Poison storyline. It looks like all those things are coming to a head with an event this summer called Extermination, kind of going to handle the time-displaced X-Men. And so that's kind of interesting. That's something that's coming down the pike. The Infinity War crossover that's happening right now, like the one that they're building to.
Yeah.
The tie-in issues, the tie-in like books have been really good. I'm reading Infinity War Darkhawk, which I enjoyed more than I thought I would. I'm reading Infinity War. What else am I reading? Black Widow. Her book's good. It's all the tie-ins have been really strong and really well done. There's a Nova one out there too. I've really enjoyed kind of the build behind the scenes. And what's fun is that these Cosmic Marvel books have been going since the return from Secret Wars, but it feels almost like they've been playing a game so long and so convoluted, including the Ultimates book, that all these things have mattered. So much has happened. Wait a second. Oh, God. Like, Ultron and Hank Pym have been a fucking problem in this miniseries. Like, it's not great. So, yeah, I've really enjoyed that book. Champions has gone through, like, a reshuffle of the cast. Really enjoying what they're doing there. I think that's still Jim Zub, but I'm not entirely sure off the top of my head. Spider-Gwen just came to her. I think it's either the last issue this week or next week. I'm a little few issues back, but I love that story. And they found a marketable character there, so I wouldn't think she's going far for long. I guess that's enough Marvel. And then obviously IDW, Lost Light, the build to Unicron. I'm 1,000% on this. I'm going to be doing a character corner. I don't know if we're going to be doing the Character Corner feed. We'll do a kind of comic book club solo show about some of the digital only comics that outline the hows, whys, and whens this iteration of the war started.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, there you guys have it. That's the comics we're reading. And I promise I'll have more end of this month. I've just been really, really busy. But I have a shit ton of stuff. And starting right after I get done with this, I'm going to be reading Flash War and finishing that latest issue. So, yeah, folks. Thank you guys very much. We didn't get a lot of emails this month, but I know it was just a slow month. Everything's going on. Here's the thing, with everything going on in the world, this is your chance to, break away from that shit. So email us in. The next one will be, let me see when we're going to record the next one.
San Diego Comic-Con. We'll be coming fresh off of that.
Yeah. It will probably be the 25th. So you got a little bit of time. Email us mailbag@mtrnetwork.net. What were we going to say, Deepam?
Nothing. I thought it was the 25th. It means it's after my birthday. My birthday is on the 18th. If you guys want to send me anything, email the show. Just say birthday.
You know what? I will be at preview night. I'm going to pick you something up from the floor. I got you.
It's gonna be like a Bernie Sanders mix.
See, I wouldn't even troll you like that, but now I kind of feel like I have to. Now I feel required. Just saying. So, all right. Well, again, folks, thank you guys very much for listening to us, and make sure you subscribe. Remember, you can only get this on the Character Corner feed. I mean, on the Super Tuesday feed. Character Corner feed. Super Tuesday feed. Subscribe. Super Tuesday recap, and let all your friends know. And until next time, see you later. Peace.